Welcome and good Wednesday morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock, and that means it's time for us to go ahead and get started with our day today. I am Randy Lober. That's Chelsea Gomez, your host and hostess with the most and most as. It's funny. You can laugh. Um, and we welcome you to today's session. We'll talk a little bit about what happened in 2025 and what we might need to look forward to in 2026 as you think about preparing to do great things come next calendar year. My role here at Action Benefits as a growth marketing manager is to help you grow your book of business, and this fits right in that wheelhouse. Chelsea Gomez, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people as well, please.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Chelsea Gomez. I believe everyone who is in the audience has known me already. I'm going to reintroduce myself as the person who's going to win Christmas bingo at lunch in 2 hours.
And what an achievement that will be. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our day here today. We are giving you a few predictions again about what's happening in 2026, and we'll show you a little bit of a few of the facts that are we're using to support those predictions here and kind of riff on those for a bit. We also like to know a bit about who's joining us here today. So we'd like to know which of these best describes you. Is it A, you're brand new to health insurance, you're not quite sure what the news is, but you think it's pretty important for you to be here? B, is it you're broadly aware of some of the news that's going on in our industry, but haven't kept up? C, you know some things are changing, but you're kind of curious about how they'll affect your business. Or D, are you a time traveler and you're here to tease Chelsea and Randy and tell us what we're getting right and wrong about what we think will happen in 2026? Which of those is true for you? Go ahead and put A, B, C, or D in the chat, please.
Hope there is a time travel in here because you know what? We should save these slides and then a year from now drag everybody back. Like, look at all the things we were right about. Or maybe we were dead wrong. I don't know. But I like to think we were right.
We can perhaps make a friendly wager here. We got 12 predictions out there, maybe over under eight, 8.5. See if we get 8.5 right. I don't know. We won something. Anyway, people are curious about how these affect their business, and we'll hopefully Laura and crew we can tell you a bit about that here today. So the way we're kind of structured this presentation is look at some things that are going to happen or will probably happen in each quarter of the year. So we'll go through quarter one, two, three, or four. Gives us kind of a nice timeline of what we can predict, hopefully going forward throughout the year. We'll start with quarter one, which conveniently encompasses January, February, and March. We can pretty confidently predict rather that this will be our collective busiest Medicare Advantage open enrollment period yet. Why? 58% of Action's book of business, so of all of your books combined, right? 58% of the book we support was disrupted via plan closures, premiums increasing, deductibles increasing, and frankly, despite all of your best efforts, despite all of our best efforts, we know that it's likely we didn't hit everyone, right? There are folks who will go to use their coverage at the beginning of the year, and maybe if they were in a plan where Blue Essential left, they might not realize they don't have a plan. They might realize they no longer have dental, vision, or hearing benefits on their plan, as the case might be. And they're going to be looking out for help, right? They're going to be talking to their agents, hopefully you all, to figure out what happened and see if they can't make any adjustments to their coverage. So we're pretty safely can assume that. And part and parcel of that is that supplemental benefits also took a hit, right? As carriers saw more cost pressures through Part D expenses, through sicker beneficiaries in general, and older beneficiaries in general, and a little bit less reimbursement from CMS. Supplemental benefits like OTC cards, transportation, healthy food options, dental, vision, hearing benefits that are embedded in those plans and Part B givebacks mostly took a hit across carriers across the board, with some few exceptions there. And again, beneficiaries, being as informed as they choose to be about their coverage, may not know about all those changes that might happen come January 1. So there's a good chance they're going to try and use some piece of that coverage, and they're not going to have the experience they're looking for this year. meaning, again, they'll come to you for help. Fear not, though, if they are someone who is used to that Part B give back and it was really looking forward to that, there are some plans out on the market that really do well within that area. You're welcome to screenshot this slide. Some of the most robust givebacks in the market come from Humana's Full Access Giveback Plan or Priority Medicare's Smart Savings Plan, $102, $120 per month, which is, as long as you can accept the leaner benefits elsewhere in the plan. If you're a fairly healthy person, you're not using a lot of coverage, that 120 or 102 can help offset a lot of that Part B premium. And again, going down the list, you've got a few other options for you as well. You also got clients that really love their OTC cards, right? Like that is the thing that they swear up and down they use, even though carrier data will show otherwise, that they don't always use these benefits. But if they do, and again, we're talking about just regular MAPDs here, not DSNPs by any means. There are some plans that still have some really rich OTC benefits out there. Zing's Open Choice PPO has $120 a quarter. That is far and away more than you'll get on any other plan offered in the Metro Detroit area. HAP Medicare Prime's PPO comes in at $81 a quarter. See Humana's Full Access PPO coming in at $100 a quarter. Priority Medicare Edge comes in at $60 a quarter. And the dark horse here, WellCare Simple's HMO POS, that's not their PPO, that's not commissionable. This is still their commissionable product here, comes in at $70 a month. Now, of course, you have leaner benefits elsewhere to sort of offset that. But if OTC benefits are really what they're yapping about, and assuming drugs and doctors are covered otherwise, those could be good fits for them.
I didn't hate the non-commissionable option. It's just non-commissionable. So I
Right.
understand if you
And
don't want to put it out there.
yes, and you all like making money when you work. So
So I've been
we
told, yeah.
we we try to support that where we can. Second big prediction we have for quarter one is that you will likely sell more supplemental policies than you ever have collectively. Why? Because where Medicare Advantage carriers made adjustments to their benefits, yeah, they trim some of those supplemental benefits, but the easiest place for them to trim is jacking up the per day cost on inpatient hospital stays, or now most days aren't at days 1 through, or most plans rather aren't at days 1 through 5 anymore. You're seeing days 1 through 6 or days 1 through 7 to put more of your beneficiary skin in the game. Hospital indemnity is going to quickly become an answer for a lot of folks in that case. Yes, they want the $0 premium plan. Totally get that. That makes a ton of sense. But for the less than the cost of one of those $440 days in the hospital, you can get them that coverage to offset that hospital cost and the cost of the ambulance ride fairly easily and fairly quickly. The other thing is it's no secret that in addition to Marketplace and ACA premium skyrocketing, so have deductibles, out-of-pocket maxes on those plans. If you have a family looking for coverage or even a double contract looking for coverage, you are looking at the 19,000s, 21,000s for your deductibles and OPMs. And gosh, that's a lot of money to spend before your insurance even pays a dollar. So we strongly believe that if you are not in yet the market or not yet in the market for things like accident or critical illness policies for your under 65 clients, this is the year to start talking about it. Yes, they might bark a little bit about some more premium exposure, right? For those policies, but paying 50, $80 a month, depending on what the policy is way cheaper than paying that 21 grand in deductible should something else occur later on down the road. So it's a bit of when do they want to pay and what protection do they want to pay. And we think many people, at least if you present them with the option, will opt for some level of accident or critical illness coverage so they don't have to pay that 21,000. What's up, Chelsea?
Some of those plans also have options where you can add the family in without increasing the premium. I know Wellaby has one. I believe GTL does too. I don't have them all
Life
memorized.
secure. Life secure.
Life Secure is it? Okay, I
Yep.
knew for sure Wellaby, and I couldn't remember which was the other one. But like 21,000 is so much money. Like I could not imagine like that. you're basically saying, would you like the supplemental policy, or would you like to like roll the dice so your kid's going to like get hurt at soccer and you're going to go bankrupt, like, or you're going to have a huge credit card bill, like to pay forever. I cannot agree with the slide more. There's got to be some give somewhere here, for those large out-of-pocket maxes, and this is probably going to be the best way you can protect your clients for a, yes, increase in their premium slightly, but so so much better than paying all that money.
Yes, and speaking of ACA premiums, we know they're going up and there's no legislative relief in sight, at least in the short term, at least before January 1st happens. Congress is due to recess sometime by the end of the week, and if I were a betting man, I would bet that we would not see any subsidy relief or extension of it, tax subsidies by the end of the year. And KFF, the Kaiser Family Foundation, which is a health policy research uh, body, if you're not familiar, has done some polling around and surveying of consumers and what they're likely going to do if these subsidies aren't renewed. And about a quarter percent, or a quarter rather, 25% of all marketplace enrollees plan to simply go uninsured next year. And as health insurance professionals, you know that's probably a bad bet for them. After that first doctor's bill, they're going to want to explore something else, right? If they're not eligible for an SEP, they're going to come talking to everyone that will listen about ACA alternatives or asking about those or short-term plans. So we think we're going to see a lot of non-buyer's remorse among those ACA clients who choose not to purchase any core medical coverage next year. They're going to be looking for a variety of options. And you can support them with some of the options that we at Action help you with. Of course, there's your major medical options, right? There are some major medical plans that we offer via USA Health Plans, that partnership there, that still function as primary health insurance, and they're about as close to ACA coverage as you can get with no coverage maxes or anything else on them, or but they are subject to underwriting, and they are their premiums, because there's no coverage maxes on them, are really can be similar to the marketplace, but you can enroll in them mostly at any time. So if someone comes to you in February and says, "Hey, wait a minute, what do I do?" That could be an option for them if they're still looking for major medical coverage. Now, there's also folks who are going to be priced out of major medical coverage this year or in 2026, whether that's ACA or ACA alternative coverage. They're just not going to be able to stomach or want to stomach that premium. There is a spot in the market for what's called a mini med, where it limits the amount of coverage to that fixed dollar amounts. Because you have coverage limits, like you only either have a very low plan allowable max, or you have three primary care visits a year or three specialist visits a year. That's how they keep their costs down. You're going to see lower premiums, right? But you're very much getting what you paid for in that case. Those plans can be guaranteed issue and can be count as minimum essential coverage as well, for if that matters to your clients. The other option we can provide you access to is a health share. We should strongly caution everyone right up front that they're not technically health insurance. They are membership-based organizations. And it's really based on the whim of the admin, whoever is administering that pool of money, to figure out whether or not they'll pay claims. And there's often additional fees upon enrollment that apply. They can be CMS approved as you go forward, but they're really not a great option for folks, simply because we can't guarantee what they'll pay out on or not. The policy language is rather wishy-washy, but it is an option out there for folks who've got nothing else for them at the moment as well.
Some of the people that I have, I'm not going to pretend like I have huge swaths of research data surrounding what it's like to be in a health share. I have heard there's not a ton of like pushback. Like they do seem to enjoy them when they're in them, but it seems to be very niche people who do want to be in these or do find these to be a good option. But they are an option, right? And keep in mind too that with a health share, you generally have to be involved in the like club or the ministry or whatever comes with that. Like usually there's some sort of like upfront fee to process and apply to that membership. But it's like not a huge fee, but it's still something to keep in mind when you're looking at these plans. But like I said, a couple of people who I did talk to who had seen these didn't seem to find a ton of problems with getting things covered, but it that's that individual, like two people I've talked to's experience. What was the other thing I was going to say about it? Must not have been important.
Right. And we should mention that mileage very much varies, though, there, right?
Oh,
Um, that
sorry, I
there's
remember.
good health shares and not as great health shares out there, and it's on the consumer to do a bit of research there.
Right.
What's going
I
on?
did remember. So there are some of them as well where you have to schedule doctor's appointments and specialist appointments. Some of them are through mini meds and health shares alike. They schedule through for you. They don't, there's no network in which you can look through to see what is valuable to you and what ones you like, what doctor or specialist you like to go to. You call them and they schedule the appointments for you. So if you value that freedom of going to search through doctors and seeing where you'd like to go, this might not be the best option for that client.
Right. But if premium is the thing making the decision for them, then that might be what we think about.
Exactly.
Speaking of premiums in a roundabout way, this is not a graceful transition by any means, but we do believe that because the first round of Medicare negotiated prices goes into effect on January 1st, that's a good thing for a lot of people, right? For those 10 drugs whose prices are going to be dropping, excellent news. So your Januvias, your Fiasp, your Farxigas, Enbros, Jardiance, Stelara, Xarelto, Eliquis, Entresto, and Imbruvica, all their prices are going down, and all Part D plans have to cover them. Good news, generally speaking. However, because they're coming in at lower prices, we suspect that drug adherence, right, that whether or not people take these drugs is going to increase, and so will the percentage of prescribed fills will increase. So even though they'll be spending less money per fill, I think it's a relatively safe bet that we're going to see drug spending continue to increase on these drugs simply in terms of volume here, right? More people are going to perhaps opt for these drugs because they're very effective treatments and they're presumably at lower cost than other treatments on the market for those conditions. So when you have more drug spending, and remember that carriers take on a lot more of this drug spending here as well, even of the negotiated rate, they're taking on, their portion of the negotiated rate here, depending on what coverage phase that your beneficiary is in. We're probably going to see upward premiums or upward pressure on drug premiums and Part D premiums in plan year 2027 as carriers absorb some of the volume costs that come out of here as well. So if that is all of quarter one in a nutshell, those are our big predictions, the big things we think we're going to see in quarter one. Few ways you can prepare and kind of safeguard for those. Whether you're working in the under 65 or Medicare markets, it's a good idea to start thinking about scheduling your quarter one follow-ups. If you didn't already do that as part of your enrollment season, those quarter one follow-ups are useful for a few reasons. You can certainly review cross-sell and upsell opportunities. So if you'd like to present those supplemental products during those times, you can absolutely do that, right? No rule against that. Any of those products can be sold year round. If specifically for the Medicare market, you'd want to take a look at your MAOEP rules. Your marketing rules change a bit based on how you can bring that period up. Just generally speaking, you cannot be the one to start that conversation about changing plans. But if the beneficiary says, "I don't like this," that might be an opportunity for you. You've also still got plan closure SEPs, right? So for areas where your beneficiaries might have seen a plan leave or seen their plan leave rather, they would have an SEP that lasts through the end of February to choose another plan, and that can be a way to take care of them in the first quarter here as well. On the marketplace side, again, we think in that first quarter we're going to see a lot of people scrambling for coverage once they figure out what the real price of being uncovered is. And so it's a good idea to again refresh on your marketplace SEPs and show up both your supplemental products and your ACA alternatives menus there as well. So just some things to keep in mind as you look forward toward quarter one and what might happen when the calendar flips over to 2026. Chelsea, what's going on in quarter two this year?
I was on I scour the internet for like weird questions about health insurance just because one, it's fascinating. Two, uh, just stuff we can talk about in our webinars. I saw someone on one of the board with the health insurance boards that I frequent asking if they should move so they can get an SEP because they regretted so deeply not taking their employer health insurance. So make sure you're double checking all those SEPs that exist. As that was the point of this story. To see if you can get your client something out there that can help them change into a plan if they end up with that no buy regret. Is another thing that kind of to think about during quarter one. As I see that review marketplace SEPs portion on there, because God, I hope that person finds an agent. I hope they don't move just for the sake of making sure they get health insurance. That's crazy. Okay, so quarter two, April, May, and June. What is do we predict will go on here? So my first prediction is TrumpRx is going to shake up the prescription drug market. So if you haven't heard, our dear leader, President Donald Trump, is trying to create a, well, he has created a marketplace similar to Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drug website, if you have heard of that. However, he has a little more pull than Mark Cuban does, believe it or not, and he was able to, and he was able to get some contracts with some of the most forward drug companies out there like Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, and Novo Nordisk. They are all on board already. So if that doesn't ring any bells for y'all, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are the two that make Wegovy, Ozempic, Zepbound, those drugs, those high dollar heavy hitter drugs that so many people are now going to start qualifying for because it's approved to treat so many things now. And of course, the side effect is the ever coveted weight loss for some of those, or is the main effect, depending on what you're having it prescribed to you for. Those, of course, are not the only drugs that are going to be on TrumpRx, but those are the heavy hitters, along with some of the other more expensive drugs that we're either waiting for the IRA negotiations, or, yes, Inflation Reduction Act negotiations to go through with, or already have gone through. So they promised an early 2026 launch for this market for prescription drugs. And it will guarantee most favored nation pricing, meaning that the low prices that they are enjoying for these drugs in Europe is going to be promised by these companies here on TrumpRx and only on TrumpRx. So what this might result in is some of your clients, particularly not making decisions about their coverage in the future surrounding whether or not they can get these drugs on TrumpRx for a cheaper price. And if they are that expensive, I think Zepbound has like a $400 a month price tag, I want to say, off the top of my head. I might be a little wrong there, but they're expensive, right? They're if they can get them for that much cheaper on this TrumpRx marketplace, they might not care about their cost accumulators. They might not care that these prices are not going to contribute to their deductible and their out-of-pocket max, particularly if they have such a high out-of-pocket max, they don't feel they're going to hit it anyway, ring in those $21,000 out-of-pocket maxes. They're going to travel to TrumpRx to purchase these drugs and therefore not put those prescriptions into the equation when they're picking out drug plans. So they might not care that, oh, this particular plan is going to cover my I keep using Zepbound because that's just what I keep thinking of, but oh, I don't care that it's not going to cover my Zepbound at a cheaper price because I'm going to go on TrumpRx because I know I'm never going to reach that deductible. Or maybe other way around, and they're, my drug is not on TrumpRx and it doesn't seem like it's going to be in the near future. So I really have to make sure that I'm making those decisions about my plan based on what drugs that I need it to cover. So I still like to stay with that plan. So as an agent, it's important to make sure you know which drugs are going to be on this and which are not, because that might heavily influence the plan decisions that some of your clients, particularly I feel in the under 65 market, could use to cover some of those drug costs. And then my next prediction, we're going to see an HSA advertising blitz. So I started noticing this maybe like 2 years ago, and it just fascinated me that more and more items are being advertised to us as consumers as FSA or HSA eligible. And why is that? It's because more and more plans are now being tagged with being HSA eligible. And that is going to like quadruple probably, I don't know exactly how much, but really increase next year because because all bronze and catastrophic marketplace plans are going to be HSA eligible come next year, meaning that more and more of your clients are going to hopefully, because you're going to educate them and you're going to tell them the values of these plans and the benefits of these plans, and then they're going to use them and they're going to put lots of money into them because they're going to have tons of money, of course, to throw into these accounts. And they'll have this big chunk of savings that they will either want to save up for a procedure that is covered through their HSA, or if it's an FSA, or HSA, I guess, but particularly for FSAs, they're going to have all this money that they're going to need to spend by the end of the year on certain items, right? And so more and more, particularly on the internet, I've seen like Amazon, Sephora, or the FSAstore.com, all of these places are advertising these big amounts of items that can be paid for through the HSA or FSA. So before that point, only about 30% of people use their HSA. I guarantee you that that number will be more than 30 at least, if not largely higher by this time next year as people start putting money into those accounts. They'll hear about what those accounts are. They'll see those accounts on Amazon. They go to buy their kids their sunscreen on Amazon. It's auto delivered. It says, oh, it's HSA eligible. I could be saving money buying this a different way. They're going to come to you, or they're going to want to try to use those accounts. So I think it's important that we put those accounts in front of our clients as an option for them. Whoop, too fast. So I would prepare for Q2 as an agent by learning more about, I know I don't usually talk about learn more about shopping, but as a health insurance agent, like just around, but I would learn more about like how to shop on these two websites, learn about what is on them, what is not on them, refresh yourself on how those cost accumulators will work, and refresh your clients on, hey, yeah, this TrumpRx is a great idea. If it's going to save you some money, just remember it's not going to count towards your cost accumulator. So if you have a really low deductible, it might still make sense to purchase it through your health insurance so you can get that counted towards that accumulator. And on the other side, for those HSAs, hey, it might be a good idea to contribute how much money you saved in premium, for example, going down a notch from a silver to a bronze, save that additional premium dollars into that HSA account. So in case you do, I don't know, have a need for something, you can pay for that. Or if the money's left over and you have no needs for things, you can use it all buying some of the prescriptions, or the refilling your medicine cabinet, getting LASIK surgery, whatever is covered within that HSA or FSA. And then if it is an FSA, if there are some group people here in the webinar today, making sure that your clients are aware that that money has to be spent by whatever usually it's the end of the calendar year, or knowing if that money rolls over or not. So that's what I'm talking about for Q2. Randy, you have anything to add? Okay. All right. Let's go to, oh, sorry.
Well, you hit it on the head. The copay accumulators, the cost accumulators, right? Anytime the consumer goes direct, purchases drugs directly from a manufacturer, or even through a portal like this, it doesn't count toward their copay, or doesn't count toward the deductibles, doesn't count toward their out-of-pocket max. So there's got to be do some real savvy shopping and real savvy education, right, to make sure that they're making wise financial decisions and not knee-jerk financial decisions about how they get drugs and where they get drugs, prescription drugs from.
I thought about it the other day. Had somebody explained FSA and HSA accounts better to me back when I was teaching, I would have been putting money in that account so I could have paid for LASIK out of it. But instead, I paid out of pocket like a goof and probably spent more than I needed to on my LASIK eye surgery. But, you live and you learn. Anyway, Q3, don't end up with your clients like Chelsea and paying out of pocket for their surgeries when they don't need to be. July, August, September. The first thing I have for you is that Medicare and under 65 plan releases were going to come down to the wire, just like they have the last, like, what, 2 years, especially the last year. Whew, making us anxious over here, waiting to the very last second to give us the information that we need to be good agents. So, because of direct consumer prices for drugs, negotiated drug rates, increased utilization on prescription costs, making the Part D coverage of all those extra things we have to pay, the carriers are going to have to pay for. In talking to all of our reps over the past year, the overarching thing that they seem to say is that there's so much risk. There's so much risk that needs to be accounted for, whether that be in increased utilization, increase in people turning 65, increase in people needing procedures, increase in treatments, drugs. All of that is just driving up costs. And where the plans choose to put that cost back onto the consumer is going to be the things that are going to drive your choices for your clients and for yourself. But all of those things together, they're doing a lot of math behind the scenes, right? They're coming up with plans, they're showing them to CMS. Sometimes CMS is rejecting them. They're going back to the drawing board, changing things around, putting them back out in front of us. More of that is going to be happening, I feel. So those things are going to be brought down to the wire. You're not going to have all of all of August, part of July, and all of September to really get to know these plans before you're selling them. It's going to be a little later that you're going to get these plans in front of you to toy with. There is also going to be, because of that lack of clarity around the extended premium tax credits, plans were, I remember almost a year ago, plans were talking about how, oh, once we figure out whether or not we're going to get the subsidies, is how we're going to determine how we're going to design these plans. That never happened. And then they had to design the plans anyway. That might happen again this year, it seems like, right? Because we're not, like Randy said earlier, we still don't have a decision yet. And, OEP is almost over. Well, not almost, but you get what I'm saying. That's going to happen again next year, it sounds like. And there's so much risk management, like I said earlier, from the carriers trying to determine how to best manage all these new costs. They're going to wait until the last minute to put these plans out there just because they're going to be trying their best to manage their risks. The commissions are going to continue to be pared down. We just wrote an article the other day about how some states are trying to fight back on this on your guys' behalf and try to establish rules about how and when commissions can be nixed from certain plans. But overall, the trend has been either that commissions are decreasing or that commissions are being straight up removed from certain plans, or plans are being removed from enrollment tools. All these things together are just ways to make it to kind of mitigate that risk in other ways other than it being directly on the plan itself. So all of those things together are accumulating to just some discourse around whether or not commissions are going to continue the way that they are, decrease, or be removed from certain plans altogether. Some carriers aren't even letting drugs or drug plans be sold by agents. I think is it Humana? Randy, help me out.
Both Humana and UHC have removed the ability for agents to market their PDPs.
Right. So even that, no commission there either.
Right. And then that's the big thing, right? And CMS, in response to all those DOIs, Departments of Insurance, attempting to push back on plans against this and saying, hey, that's an unfair trade practice. December 4th, CMS wrote a memo and said, really, no states butt out of this. This is our territory to regulate, and we don't see a need to do anything just yet. In not quite so many words. Certainly something we can still comment on final and proposed, or the proposed rule that we'll have through the end of January to comment on. So highly encourage you to do so. But just be prepared, right? Is that this commission and the risk structures are ever evolving, and that means the carpet could quickly be pulled out from under all of us at any time on any plan.
That man, every once in a while during that first few weeks of AEP, like we'd get an email from the carrier and I'd be like, and like, is this it? Is this another one? And then most of the time it wasn't, but you would still kind of like, oh, okay. So my other prediction for quarter three, much brighter than the one I just gave. You're going to get a lot of touch bases from yours truly and Randy and the rest of us in Action Benefits as we make sure that you are ready as well as we can be. We don't get news any faster really than you guys do. We're just really nerds and we just love pushing that refresh button to get as much information out to you as quickly as you can so that you can spend time doing other things like selling health insurance. But you can expect from us that the AEP, OEP kickoff will happen in mid-August. We usually tried to do the first Thursday of August, but probably going to push that back so that we, in response to carriers pushing back their plan details being released, because we always try to hope to align those two. Not always completely able to do that because man, if we can't do these in October, we're busy. So hopefully we have plan details to you by that point during the AEP kickoff. Hopefully they have my favorite salad again this year. I'm the one who usually does the menu, so I know that we're going to have it. Anyway, so will have webinars and in-person sessions throughout. You know that we hit you with every single carrier that we worked with doing some sort of product rollout or product introduction or carrier introduction, get to know some sort during that time. We plan to do the same as well in that final hours of third quarter leading into fourth quarter so you can be ready. And then, of course, you have the two of us sending emails, blogs, insights, posts, all sorts of stuff. We make it custom stuff if you want. That's like one of my favorite activities to make sure that you guys have the best quarter four you can. Ramping up that social media presence, ramping up your websites, getting your social media pages ready to go. Those are the kind of things you should be focusing on in quarter three until you hit quarter four. Oh, okay. There we go. Is that the right one? Yes. Okay. There we go. So prepare. Sorry, there's a new feature of share the slides. And the button is like delayed. So I keep thinking I didn't push the button and I did, and then I ended up. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So prepare for quarter three. I said most of it already. But just touching on a few more things. So diversify your MAPD portfolio. Quarter two and quarter three are the times for you to add new carriers if that's what you are interested in doing. It is not quarter four. I would not range my bets that that is going to be an option for you in quarter four. So make sure that you are diversifying your portfolio, not only just for MAPDs, but across the board through quarter two and quarter three. I would add some supplemental products to fill in your gaps as well. So I would hit up Wellbe, I'd hit up Life Secure, GTL, making sure that you have a little flavor of each type, whether it be, accident and critical illness or cancer and critical illness, something so that you have some bases covered for your under 65 and your Medicare people. And then again, marketing wins happen here, not in quarter four. So get your social medias ramped up, ready to go.
Yeah, and I like that diversification point because it's important, right? Like not only just to provide a wide variety of products to your clients, so that's certainly helpful too, but really it helps ensure your business and your industry in your time against these off-cycle commission cuts that keep on happening, right? If in the middle of AEP or in the early days of AEP we learn another plan that goes non-commissionable, especially if it's a plan you like, you got to have somewhere to put those folks if you want to make money come January 1st, right? So the more carriers you do have in your back pocket, the better protection you're providing for yourself, not only for your clients, but for your business as well. And again, can't stress enough that July is the time to start really thinking about what your marketing might be like. By the time you start talking Medicare and under 65 business to folks in October or November and trying to get your message out there, they're already being flooded by carriers and all those third-party marketing organizations and call centers. They don't have the time or headspace to pay attention to you. So again, best to always start early when it comes to thinking about enrollment season and just promoting your agency throughout the year.
You never know what carrier is going to end up on top. I feel like in the last couple years it was usually pretty, you could pretty much guess what carrier and what colors you were going to be using to enroll a lot. I feel like in the next few years that's not going to be the case. Like it's going to be like a surprise, this carrier came out of the woodwork and they now have the best plan for those who are diabetic, or they have the best plan for those who live in this specific county. If you're not with that carrier, you're going to miss out. And being with that carrier beforehand, I don't feel like, as much as I don't want to encourage like, oh, get every single carrier and then just like ignore them and whatever. I'm not saying like waste your time or anything like that, but like it doesn't hurt to have as many carriers as you feel might be important or valuable in the areas that you work in.
Yeah. Spreading the risk, right? Just like in the carrier spreading their risk around, it's important that you spread your risk around too, right? Because that's where your business sees exposure. What can you expect in quarter four? There's a few things we think you will see in front of you. The first is that we are all going to be burning the midnight oil during enrollment season. Why? Well, AEP, that's static. That doesn't change. You'll see it October 15th through December 7th next year. But next year is the first year that OEP will be shortened again, from November 1st through December 15th. So you've got two busy enrollment periods happening side by side. There is no getting through AEP and then working on your under 65 clients. You got to be working on them all at the same time. Oh, and to make things a little more complicated, uh, passive renewals in the under 65 market will be limited, whether that's due to enrollment rules or some other stuff. And there's some court cases pending around this. But if the provisions from the One Bill, Big Beautiful Bill Act go into effect as currently written, effectively, passive renewals will be eliminated for the vast majority of folks on marketplace coverage, meaning you're going to need to reach out to your folks, actively renew them each year so they can opt into coverage that they want and go forward. So please pay attention to that and start thinking about how you might talk to folks as well. But it's not all doom and gloom in quarter four, because we think also that generally speaking, the regulatory environment is going to get more agent friendly. We see that with CMS's recent announcement that they are going to add an NPN field to Medicare.gov, just like there is on healthcare.gov for the 65 place, meaning that CMS realizes that you deserve credit for the help you provide beneficiaries with, and there's a way for beneficiaries to acknowledge that help you give them right there on Medicare.gov. So that's good news. The other thing, of course, and we've talked about this a few times in recent weeks, is that CMS is proposing relaxing several marketing rules that would be effective on October 1st. So the elimination of the 48-hour rule for scopes of appointment, the ability to hold education and marketing events back to back, the ability to collect your scopes of appointment at your education vocational events. Lots of things that really and the possible elimination or at least reduction of the call recording requirement as well. So lots of things, again, that make life easier for you, and we think that's a really good sign going forward.
No more need
The
to
other thing
bulk
on the
buy hard
table,
drives.
pardon?
No more need to bulk buy like external hard drives to store all that stuff. I
Right.
always think about like, God, how much money are you guys spending on like external terabyte hard drives to store all those calls if you're not using our call recording feature? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a lot real fast. The other thing to keep in mind is that for this year, for plan year 2026 in the marketplace, is that there is a temporary hardship exemption opened up for folks who were losing their subsidies. So those over 400% FPL or those under 100% FPL who could enroll in catastrophic coverage. But again, because they've lost subsidies, they're not eligible for any payment assistance for these plans. And your clients may well be choosing that catastrophic coverage, but again, that exemption is only good for one calendar year. And I think we're going to quickly see as folks fall into those catastrophic plans, they fall out of bronze and into catastrophic, or out of silver and into catastrophic. Catastrophic premiums are going to level out with bronze premiums pretty quickly because they're almost there as is. So consumers might not be satisfied at all with that. There's no pre-deductible coverage. They might opt instead next year to go back to that bronze coverage or the expanded bronze coverage that does have a little more options for pre-deductible coverage going forward. So if you do have a lot of folks taking catastrophic coverage this year, note that they're probably, for a number of reasons, not going to want to stay there. But the good news is you'll need to actively renew them anyway. So there's hope, I suppose, going forward. Few things we can do to prepare for quarter four, and that is in both markets, Medicare and under 65. You're going to want to prioritize reaching out to your clients according to that plan disruption because you've got to talk to them all in just about a 6-week period or so, right? There's no spreading it out. Have your supplemental products ready. We think, again, for any number of reasons, including uncertainty around subsidies in the under 65 market and increased utilization and drug costs in both markets, that there's going to be bigger gaps in plan designs. Benefits are going to get poorer before they'll get richer. Supplemental products will have a place in your portfolio in quarter four. We guarantee you that. And we do encourage you to begin your outreach early, especially for folks who don't know or may not be aware that their OEP may be shortened next year. In the Medicare market, those marketing rules should be finalized by mid-spring, and we'll let you know where they are, but they won't go into effect until October. So we're giving you a reminder there. And again, encourage your active renewals and be ready to talk about HSA portability there in the under 65 market as well. So if I lose my plan, if I disenroll from my green plan because maybe the blue plan has better rates for me next year, what happens to my HSA? We got to think about that, and your clients are going to want to know about that. So it's important that you know about that going forward as well. Our last 13th take for the road here is we're probably not out of the woods just yet. We saw some recent studies come out actually that drug spending is probably going to keep increasing until 2029, 2030 before it levels off and maybe decreases at that point. But that means over the next few years, we're going to see increased benefit adjustments, increased premium adjustments to reflect that more drug spending and more the higher cost of care overall. So we're going to need to buckle up for a few more years of bumpy sailing here before we return to anything that looked like the good old days before.
I want every single one of them to put a reminder in their Outlook calendar 1 year from now to ping us to see, to like call us out on anything we got right or wrong, because like that's really fun. Happy holidays, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with us this session and all sessions over the last year.